Yeah, so first off, thanks Bob, thanks Christina for inviting me, thanks Gavin College for hosting, of course. I don't know why Bob had to remind everybody about our COVID policies. I promise there won't be any mask mandates coming back anytime while I'm on the board. At least I won't be voting for that sort of stuff anymore. But yeah, so a lot of very important people in the room here today. It's always eye-opening at these sorts of events, and so I'll try not to waste your time. You took your very valuable time to come out here. My goal here today is not to entertain you, or frankly, I'm probably not going to inspire you. It's really, I don't have any dramatic speeches planned. I didn't write any poetry this week for you. I just wanted to inform you about all the many things that are going on at the county, and there's a lot going on. And I think I was just talking before with Mayor Jordan from San Juan and some other folks, and you talk about, you go into these things thinking, I really want to accomplish, these are my big 3 things or whatever you want to accomplish, and then you get into these roles and it becomes 1,000 things basically, whether you like it or not, and that's part of the job. There are always unanticipated challenges that come up, and you have to basically expect those things in these roles no matter when you're doing this. And I'll just start off, that brings me to, as chair this year, one of the areas that I wanted to improve was just having the board start off the year by being clear about priorities and having not too many priorities. I know some of us have probably sat in those workshop sessions. I know Bob and I have on the board, the retreats where you do the whiteboard, and everybody's putting out a lot of great ideas, but you end up with 25 things you want to do. What I've learned in government is you can't do 20 or 25 initiatives in a year. You're lucky if you get 5 done. If you get 3 done, that's pretty good. While you're dealing with all these other challenges and basically running a business, which is the county. It's a $300+ million business. And so this year we started off with 5 priorities that we voted on as a board. You see them up here: road improvements, housing policy reform, community cleanup, tourism promotion, and addressing state mandates. And I'll get into sort of my perspective of why these are important for the community this particular year. I can tell you that just for me personally, with this role, I'm a big believer. I'm not a partisan. I don't know if anybody knows that. You probably guessed whether I'm a Democrat or a Republican and all this. At certain points, he's talking about growth policies over here, but he's talking about cleaning up in homeless encampments on the other side. And so I'm neither. I'm an independent, frankly, and in this particular role, my primary focus, the driver of everything that I do is really trying to understand the district that I represent and the county, and it may sound generic, but to truly represent my constituents. And that's why, when I started this, I went, I'm not a big money guy. I didn't take large donations. When I ran, I went door to door and just talked to people, and did a lot of it. I probably went around the district 3-4 times just to learn what the district wants, what the people want. And so these priorities for me reflect what I heard. This wasn't just me, but I would say the road improvements, in particular housing reform. It doesn't mean no growth. A lot of people try to peg me as no growth person, which is not true, and I'll get into that. Community cleanup, I'm a big believer. Again, just talking to people in my district, especially on the west side, that we're very concerned about the riverbed and pollution in the riverbed, but also we see a lot of trash along the sides of the roads. We see a lot of illegal dumping in the community. And it's really important to address issues like that, because it really starts with the foundation. Like, when you drive around, are you proud of your community? When you think of other people visiting our community, do you want them to see these things, the trash on the side of the road, the sofas and whatever it might be, Salinas Road, which I represent. Anyway, tourism promotion, I'm of the belief that I am a pro-business person, whether some people want to believe it or not. But again, it comes back to the focus part. This is just for this year. I don't want to let a whole year go by without getting anything done and just having presentations and discussions and talks. The goal is to really, can we get in a couple initiatives, 1 or 2 initiatives, just focus on tourism for this year. It doesn't mean we aren't going to address other ideas, and I'll get into my thoughts on how maybe the business community can help us with your expertise. But it was really just as a government entity, how are we going to use our resources and our time and our staff time so that we're getting something out of it? And the goal is just let's focus on tourism for this year and for 1 year and see where that goes. And then addressing state mandates, that was something that's been an issue for forever, and it's still an issue. And I think it came up. There was talk about a charter county. I don't really think that that's realistic right now. We got a lot on our plate. That's a very complex thing to do, but there are just state mandates in general, with whether it's Highway 25 that we're dealing with, the BMT and CAPTA environmental regulations, or the development community and CEQA and environmental regulations with, for instance, a park, that really fantastic park we're trying to push forward, and we're running into roadblocks due to state mandates of that. So just to start out, I'll try to run through this. I know we want to get through this quickly. Housing policy reform, just in general, I think everybody on the board is in agreement that we just have to change the direction for the types of development that we've been doing in this community with the state mandates that we're seeing with, from the governor. The state's made it clear, we gotta contribute to the housing shortage. But in our community, there's a belief from myself and others that we have gone way too far on the other side when it comes to single-family sprawl. I think the goal is to really, with some of these changes, is to prevent loss of prime ag land in particular. But when we do grow, let's pivot to a direction where we are incorporating mixed uses in all our developments. We're strengthening our affordable housing ordinance so that there is inclusiveness in all our developments and throughout our community. It might sound scary, elimination of single-family zoning. It doesn't mean we're getting rid of single-family zoning again. And these are just proposals, by the way. A lot of these are on the table right now. It means that we would perhaps require multifamily when there are developments, or we would require mixed uses and commercial uses within developments, and that's something that we're talking about now. Is essentially maybe all developments going forward in the county, let's incorporate shopping and these other things into it in condos and multifamily. And then just in general, we're going through general plan updates, new ag element, and looking at impact fees, because we've heard over and over again that we have not collected our fair share of impact fees, and we need to do that because we are a resource poor county, and we need to be able to pay for all these things like roads and everything else, which leads into roads. Bob and I actually worked on the board to get approved 3 years ago, I think now, 2-3 years ago, a historic package of road improvements, because we all heard that needed to be a priority. Cobbled together all the available dollars that we had, essentially a $28 million package. And that's aside from the gas tax money and the Measure G money. Other issues there, because the Measure G is now shifting all the way over to Highway 25. But just to make sure that we are getting started at least on tackling the road deficiencies that we have in the community. And as you all know, we have some of the worst roads around. The data that backs it up, with the PCI index and all these things, we're basically in the low 30s, which is bad, basically. So coming up, Union, Fairview, Fraser Lake, Cole, San Juan Highway. We've had work done on Fairview already. This would complete that. There's been work on Shore World recently. So the goal really right now is to try to tackle some of those higher volume rural roads, and to set the stage so that going forward, we need to incorporate road improvements into our budgets as we can. Right now, we're facing a budget challenge, which I'll get into. But that's really the goal, is to have that structurally incorporated into our budgets. Highway 25, I'm on COG this year. We have Benito Abraham here. Thank you very much from COG. And right now, we're just, we heard loud and clear from the farm community in particular that the route adoption from 2016, we should at least pivot, take a step back, and look at whether might be other options. It doesn't mean we're stopping the process. It means that some studies are still going forward, as far as I understand, from the environmental side. But it's just to at least look at some of these other options that might be more viable, frankly, especially when you consider the fact that the project cost has skyrocketed from $240 million just 3 years ago to going toward $1 billion, basically, not $800 million. And by the time we're doing this thing, it's going to be $1 billion project. A lot of that has to do with the environmental regulations that I was addressing earlier, with the state requiring certain things you have to do when you build these projects. And there's a lot going on there where right now several of the rural counties went out for a study trying to make a case to the state, basically. I know Speaker Andres is here, and Speaker Rivas is fully aware. We had a good discussion about this a couple months ago, that there needs to be changes at the state level for allow this type of project to go forward in the current kind of direction that we're going. We just don't have the money for 4 new lanes if they're going to be requiring all these things. So we're looking at other options now that may include adding 2 more lanes to the 2 existing lanes. It may include, there's a variety of options being considered, but we're not stopping the project, it's moving forward. And then, of course, the safety barrier, I didn't get a chance to look through it, but there's some more information that just came out this week about the safety barriers that may put in on more on the Santa Clara County side after we've seen some recent fatalities over there. And then, of course, we all know the 10125 project is underway. Thank you very much, Christina. Community cleanup, I know it's a divisive issue, but I can tell you that, again, I'm here to represent my constituents, and I've heard loud and clear over and over again, particularly when I walked on the west side of Hollister, people that were very concerned about safety issues, about fires, about some of the activity, the criminal activity that was going on in the riverbed. And frankly, I think what gets lost is in this entire debate, and I continue to bring it up, is that this is a riverbed. This is a sensitive habitat where we have allowed these communities to grow, and they're extensive communities. I took a tour with our sheriff's deputy a couple weeks ago on the side-by-side that he has, which was really actually fun. It might sound bad, but it was fun, just going up and down everything and all around. But I saw the extensiveness, the underground bunkers. I stepped down into it, just the intricacy of these communities that we're building in a riverbed, which is a sensitive environmental habitat, which leads to our ocean. We will have more storms, which will, there's a lot of hazardous materials in there. And, for me, that's ultimately the overriding factor where we had to do something here. And we did, and we're in the process of cleaning out the riverbed. And I get it, there's criticism about not having enough housing, not having enough shelter. Our goal is to work with every single person who's in that riverbed to do our best to offer them and to provide them services as we go. And it's not a perfect system, and it's still a challenge. And I'm acknowledging that it's, there's a downside to what we're doing, but you always have to consider the pros and cons. And we will be there to do whatever we can to help these folks get on the right path as we go forward. Illegal dumping, we've increased our illegal dumping fines to the highest allowed in the state. Of course, we're all logical, that's not going to solve the problem unless you have enforcement, unless you have cameras, unless you have a proactive system in place. So we're continuing to develop that. We have target zones throughout the county that we will, hopefully soon be doing more, to put out more signage, to put out more cameras at some point to really deter these activities. But again, don't have a perfect answer, but we're continuing to do what we can to try to deter illegal dumping in our community, because this is a beautiful, scenic community. No community should be accepting of illegal dumping, trash on the sides of the roads. When I drive on 101 sometimes, I get sad and I look off to the side of the road and I see just trash littered between Highway 129 and the Gilroy area, and just what can we do better to stop these things from going on? And so we are trying to tackle that. Illegal vendors, we're not trying to shut down small businesses. We just want people to get certified. We actually have we have several things going on at the county where we are actually promoting small businesses through micro enterprise home kitchens, a program that we push forward again, I believe, with Bob on the board, which allows entrepreneurs who are starting up, they don't have to go through the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 investment in starting a restaurant, you can start your own kitchen, start selling from a cart, doing these things. We want people to do, to start businesses, we just want them to get certified, have the certificate, and then we may have to look at just having, we're looking at potentially having like safe zones essentially throughout the county where people can do this so that they're not necessarily just pulled off to the side of the road in some of these areas where it's frankly just very dangerous to have businesses set up. And then, long list of priorities, but I would like to see more organized community cleanups. Our integrated waste department does a really fantastic job, but I think as leadership in the community, at some point we really do need to get behind that as well. And I personally, it's just one of my personal things. It feels good to get out and clean up trash. I've done it myself, and hopefully we see more of that going forward. Tourism. So again, understand completely. There's been a lot of debate. There's been a lot of negativity over Measure A and which direction we should go when it comes to commercial development in the community. I get it, but we are where we are, and I'm of the belief that we still have a lot of opportunities here when it comes to commercial, when it comes to industrial and manufacturing. I've said it openly that yes, it would be great to have commercial, but in an ideal world, you are developing a mechanism to recruit, retain career employers. I would think that we're all on the same page with that. It's not as easy as it's to accomplish as you may think, obviously, but we are, I'm of the belief we do have opportunities here. We have 1,500 acres or so near the airport. We have set up, as Bob mentioned, the tax sharing agreement with the city of Hollister, which had to be done in order for that area to eventually be developed. It would be nice to see some sort of, I know we have other business parks out there, but industrial, manufacturing, I know there was a project that was in the works. I don't want to put Ariel on the spot, but I have to check back to see where that is. But the Christopher family was looking at a pretty extensive project when we started this. So there are opportunities there. We're looking at a hotel incentive program. The tourism committee that we put together just basically signed off on, it's in the works, so it's coming back. The details as far as trying to do more to incentivize hotels. Most people don't realize this, but hotels are actually allowed in agricultural zoning. You just have to go through a conditional use permit process. So I think everybody's in favor of more hotels, especially if we're out here saying we need more visitation and tourism. We need more hotels. Pinnacles National Park is filled to the brim. I think most of us probably know that. And it certainly would be beneficial for us to take advantage of that more. HipCamp program recently approved, which allows, along the same vein, for agricultural areas or areas surrounding, for instance, Pinnacles National Park to have camping areas set up, which is needed because of what I just explained, as far as hotels being full and not enough places to stay. And then I think the San Justo Reservoir, I think just because of all the issues going on right now, is probably on hold a little bit here. There are challenges. We can't just reopen San Justo Reservoir. It's something that our residents have said loud and clear that they want to have it looked at. And it's not simple, obviously, when you have invasive zebra mussels that they're concerned about spreading to other waterways. But I think, from a realistic standpoint, it's probably more likely for us to eventually look at something where we create recreational areas around the water while that zebra mussel issue is being addressed, if that's even feasible. I can't make any promises on that, but we are in the process of communicating with the Bureau of Reclamation. I believe the the water district as well. And then the regional park project that we approved several years ago, really fantastic park, a lot of amenities next to the high school. It's been frustrating because it's one of those things where you do a ribbon cutting and all these things, and you think, oh, we did it, everybody. We accomplished our goal. Here we are, 2-3 years later, and it's sitting pretty much vacant. And I gotta be frank, the issue here is that the feds signed off on the environmental side of this project. It's a park. We're trying to set aside land for an environmental corridor, for people to go and enjoy themselves. You know, we're trying to help the environment. And the feds signed off on it, but we had, the state basically told us we had to set aside $2.5 million I believe it was a $2.5 million cost that would be involved because there was the potential of one of the endangered species. They weren't spotted there. There's a back and forth going on, basically. We do not believe that there should be an issue with us developing that park. And probably, you know, it comes back to this mandates. We all care about the environment, but the state of California, frankly, when it comes to environmental mandates, has really gone way too far. And I have another thing later, but some of you are probably aware that they're actually looking at CEQA now and really loosening some of the unreasonable regulations. And I'm thankful, I believe Speaker Rivas is involved with that, and I'm thankful for his involvement as well. State mandates, Highway 25, we're working on that with other rural counties. I think there's been progress again, and Speaker Rivas has been involved with this as well in trying to separate rural counties from urban counties, because a lot of these rules were built based on urban LA, San Francisco, and one size, as we all doesn't fit all. We're hoping to bring that cost down and make it more realistic. Lobbyists helping us work on the regional park, and again, keeping an eye on CEQA and moving with that, because it's going to really affect a lot of things in California, everything from development to parks and what I mentioned. Ongoing major issues, really glad that we just hired new CAO Esperanza Colio, comes with really great experience in Imperial County, and then most recently as city manager of Calexico. And I think, I'm sure she'll be here at some point doing a talk as well. And I think just generally you will all be very impressed with Esperanza, and we're very, very grateful to have her coming on June 16th. Fire protection, we all know this has been a big debate in the community for a couple of years. Frankly now, it's tough because everybody has budget challenges. The city of Hollister, the county, San Juan Bautista, we are continuing to work through this. The county is, because we do have to, we put an offer on the table. There was some back and forth, some negotiating on the current contract. We did have to just move forward with other alternatives because the clock is ticking. We can't just not have fire services. So we are exploring the possibility of developing a fire department in partnership with San Juan Bautista. That said, we have made it clear to the city of Hollister that if you have an offer, we're willing to hear it. So I don't think the book is necessarily closed on what direction we're going in. It's ongoing, but we will, it's a priority for everybody. We understand the challenges, and everybody's perspectives are valued, because city of Hollister, tough budget situation, county, tough budget situation, we'll figure it out. We're gonna get there soon. As I mentioned, the county budget. We've been going through a transition this year with the CAO, lost our budget officer in a small county. And this is something we need to look at, frankly. We need more than one budget officer. So we lost our one budget officer and had a CAO who was, to her credit, stepped into a situation that was very difficult. But a budget is a very complex thing, as we all know. And so we've had some challenges that we're working through. We are going to have some level of a shortfall going into this coming year. We need to fix some of the structural issues, how the budget is put together, and prioritized, frankly. And so we're continuing to work through that. Landfill is to be determined, but it's still there. It's still a big issue. It's being worked on behind the scenes. I think as of the most recent, there was the ad hoc committee brought forward options that included everything from transfer station to landfill expansion for in-county waste only. We did move away from the out-of-county waste option because, again, we heard loud and clear from the vast majority of the community that it's, we shouldn't, our landfill should be for in-county residents. Other matters, the Egg Center truck stop, I think we're all aware of that proposal. The Traveler Station proposal, I think we are all aware of the Venable as well. That's
somewhat on hold now with the lawsuit issue that's going on. We're in the process of updating commercial development standards to fit more in line with the rural feel of the community, but we're also loosening some things to promote commercial in areas where it's allowed. And then, as I mentioned, the acreage near the airport. Everyone's been talking about the airport for a long time, and I'm guilty of it as much as anybody. We need to find a way to put together something that's more structured to get businesses interested in this area. And it's one of those things where I would be more than happy to have the business council and other business groups, and again, you're the business community with business experience, to give input on these types of things as far as what sort of policies we can put in place. How can we better promote these areas? Because it is a gem. You know, not a lot of communities have an airport like this, and not a lot of communities have this level of opportunity near the airport that really we should be taking more advantage of. MECO program I mentioned earlier is the commercial home kitchen program. We expanded that this year to allow for more, pretty much take the caps off that they had in place for revenue, and just to allow to loosen it up quite a bit. HIPCAT mentioned that. Animal ordinance, this has become actually pretty controversial. It wasn't meant to be. So the intent of what's going on is the state has all these food safety regulations, and if you have, we have obviously livestock, and we have crop growers here, obviously. And if you are, if there are livestock that are put out, the onus has been on the crop grower to have a setback. So they essentially lose crop space, including prime farmland. So if somebody comes in, the concern that farmers have, I'll just give you the anecdotal concern. I'm growing this prime farmland, you know, in the San Juan Valley. I'm concerned that somebody's going to move into that property there when this other person moves out, and they're gonna maybe move from the Bay Area and come, you know, they want to live the country life, and they're going to put a few sheep out or horses, and now I lose my ability to farm my land. That is what we're trying to address. That's the intent of what we're doing. We're going to have to work through the details to get there. It's become very clear because there's just concerns about, and Arla's doing a great job. I got to say, she takes flack for things that she doesn't deserve flack for. And, you know, the supervisors are pushing for these things to get done because we want to accomplish things. But we also recognize that challenges are going to come up, and you got to work through the details. And that's what we're doing with the animal ordinance. But again, the intent is to protect, to essentially, if you want to move in somewhere and put out some animals, the onus is going to be on you to provide the setback, as opposed to basically taking the ability of a farmer to be able to farm their land. And then cannabis, again, I don't know how contentious it is anymore, but we've opened up, you know, opportunities if people want to open cannabis businesses and grow cannabis in the community. So, other questions? Again, what I alluded to, I think the door is wide open as far as I'm concerned, and I would really appreciate if there are. I think we should all just understand that this is a small town, and my cell phone's all out there. Others are all out there. Emails, whatever, either informal or formal way that the business council or other groups want to get involved. We did make changes on the economic advisory committee because committees can just be cumbersome, and if you're not getting much done in 2 years, then maybe we look at doing it a different way, and that's why we changed it to tourism committee for this year. But if there are other ideas, please provide them. If you have other ideas as a group, if you have an executive leadership group or whatever it might be, let's talk. Let's just talk about how we can improve policies in this community to, under the current environment, we all understand, to promote more business growth and recruit and retain more career employers, and again, how can we capitalize on commercial even without the nodes? There are other nodes in the community. I talked earlier about mixed-use development, and the sales tax reimbursement program that Bob and I think we put that together, right? Bob and I put together. We started it, and then there was some shifting of committees, and I was not involved when it got finalized, but it's something that we can revisit because I think the numbers need to be adjusted to make it more appealing for new businesses, but essentially similar to a hotel incentive program. If you're willing to build a business here, move here, we're willing to work with you on the sales tax part of it, but there just are some caps involved that are probably a little unrealistic. And then one of my just side things I bring up once in a while is how can we more, this isn't a biker rally issue, not trying to start biker rally debates, but just in general, how can we do more to promote outdoor events in our community, whether it's food festivals or whatever it might be. San Juan does a great job with their events there, but how can we do more as a community, because we are a scenic outdoor community. It just makes a lot of sense to me that we should be doing more to promote outdoor events. And that just probably went too long, but that brings us to questions and comments, and thank you for having me.